Senator 36.
The Senator yield.
I yield.
So we appear to be on the you're asking us to vote for to adopt Amendment 1A to amend Amendment 1. That'll be the first thing that we're voting on. We'll vote on Amendment 1A to adopt.
I believe it's Amendment 1 that we'll vote on.
What's before us on the board is adoption of Amendment 1A to amend Amendment 1. So we start with the main amendment first. Is that your understanding?
That is my understanding.
And I'm interested to know, since we've heard for the last 3 months, 3.5 months, extensively from the business interests around the state, that they feel like we're going down a road to passing a bill that will threaten jobs in our state and will threaten our agricultural economy and will threaten our tourist and convention business in the state. Were those who crafted this language in consultation with the leaders in the agricultural community and the tourism and convention industry?
It is my understanding that they have been and continually in conversation with.
Is it your understanding that they are in agreement with this version of the bill?
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if they're in agreement or not, but I think there has been some effort to address their concerns as much as possible.
But isn't it true that the convention industry, when the word goes out across the country that Georgia has passed an Arizona-type piece of legislation, that conventions, people holding conventions, organizations, associations that were scheduled to come to Atlanta are going to start canceling? They're not going to wonder what was in Amendment 1A or 1. They're going to know that we passed a bill, isn't it true, that penalizes an entire demographic sector of our state population, and that E-Verify or not E-Verify is not going to be the thing that halts the convention cancellations? I mean, have we really consulted with our Department of Economic Development and with our trade and tourism industry?
There is an Amendment 1A I've been handed, so I correct my earlier statement. It just looks like a technical correction, striking persons and replacing it with employers. So there is an Amendment 1A. I believe the author of the bill has worked very hard to address the concerns of the tourism industry and has made some changes to the legislation that were suggested. I don't know if any organization or person who has an interest in this bill has gotten 100% of what they want in the legislation, whether they're for it or against it, but I do believe there has been a monumental effort to work with all of the people who had some concern, and so there were some adjustments made in response to that concern.
And is there any way that we can stand before the public eye and say that this legislation is not going to damage our state's economy and not going to lead to convention business being canceled?
I believe that because of the effort, the hard work that has gone into the legislation, I believe we can say that it is not going to harm our economy in terms of conventions and tourism. So I'm pretty confident that because of the hard work that has been addressed to the extent that it could be addressed.
And so people who cast their vote for this legislation as proposed before us today are willing to take responsibility for placing our state's economy in jeopardy and putting us on a list when, in fact, Mississippi, Kentucky, Kansas, Colorado, and Arizona have all shelved immigration legislation this year. Isn't it true?
I believe the people who vote for this legislation are going to take responsibility for assisting the federal government in verifying that the workers who go to work in our state, as in any other country, any other state in the country, are legally authorized to work, and that law enforcement is assisting federal agents. And a vote for this bill is the people who vote for this bill are taking responsibility for enforcing the law.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 45th.
Will the senator yield?
I yield.
Senator, I know, since you're my sweet mate, how hard and diligent you've worked on this along with the House author, and we're very appreciative of that work. I just have one question. On line 20 of the amendment, you changed it to 35 hours per week. And I was just wondering how you came up with that 35 hours a week, because I thought a part-time employee was 32 hours a week. And is it not your opinion that this weakens the bill and allows people to work more hours? Was that an acquiescence to the agriculture industry so that they could work more hours and not be a part-time employee?
I believe several people came up with that suggestion, and the thought was that a business shouldn't necessarily have to e-verify part-time employees who don't work a certain number of hours, and just trying to set a standard for what the full-time employee would be that has to be e-verified.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 27th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
I yield.
Senator, isn't it true that this bill is a combination of work with a combination of another Senate bill, and it is over 4 months worth of work, and it's not taken lightly at all?
That is correct.
And isn't it also true that we have consulted with the GMA, the ACCG, the Contractors Association, the Hotel Association, the Georgia Chamber, the Agriculture Community, and the Restaurant Association on the language in this bill?
That is, to my understanding, that is correct. The author and others have worked with any group that was concerned, and that took a lot of time and effort and energy, and he's to be commended for that.
And thank you very much, Senator. Appreciate your help on this bill, too.
Thank you.
No further questions, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 50th.